of announcements. One is the planner, Lynn Abney, will be running this Zoom call. Everyone, whether it's the public, the applicants, or the commissioners, please use your names when you speak. And we will start with a roll call. John Goodwin, I'm here. Mrs. Kraslecki?
Here.
Mr. Flynn is absent tonight. Mr. Chris?
Present.
Mr. Radman?
Sorry, present.
Ms. Tiscornia?
Here.
Mr. Turner?
Here.
Mr. Ward?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Present.
Ms. Nielsen?
Here.
And Mr. Cassavant.
Here.
Okay, Mrs. Nielsen, you are seated for Mr. Flynn tonight. As I said, a couple of announcements. Item number 4, 108 Ponus Ridge Road will not be open tonight. I expect that we will open it at our next meeting, which is October 27, 2020. We do have a fairly heavy schedule, so I ask all the applicants and the public to kindly be as concise as possible. And one other item, and I'm going to mention this up front later as well, just so we don't potentially waste anybody's time. 635 Frogtown Road, AKA the Country School. This is an application very, very specific, having to do with COVID and having to use a tent and other outside facilities. We will not be entertaining any other comments having to do with the country school except specific to that application. So I just want to be very clear about that up front. Okay, let's get going. Regular meeting. We'll start in regular meeting mode. Site plan number 111 Cherry Street. Upon application, Brock Sachs, authorized agent for Cherry Center LLC, owners for site plan approval, sections 44C5 to allow business A zone. Uses permitted with site plan approval for general medical offices for property in the business A zone at 111 Cherry Street. Mr. Sachs.
Thank you, Chairman Goodwin. Just want to share my screen here. This is a site plan application for Store 5 at 111 Cherry Street, which is part of a 2-building shopping center, 107 and 111 Cherry Street. Just take you through some photos here in aerial. The street view, Store 5 is located on the northwest part of 111 Cherry Street in the far left-hand side if you're looking at 111 Cherry Street from the street view. It has some corner characteristics. I've included the site plan with parking plan. It was previously the home to Severed Ties for 35 years. And Severed Ties moved out, their lease ended, and we have a number of interested parties who would like to make it an office use. So we are here before you tonight to ask for a change of use per the recent changes for the business A zone that allow for the change of use to office from retail. The space is 1,650 square foot change. One of the rules governing the regulations stipulate that not more than 10,000 square feet of total gross floor area be located in the building at 111 Cherry Street. With the addition of Store 5 to the existing office space at 111 Cherry Street, we would be at 6,100 square feet because the Fresh Green Light Driving School last year was considered an office, so that is included in this office calculation. The parking regulations are the same as retail for office on the ground floor. So I'm happy to field any questions that you might have.
Questions for the applicant? Claire, did you raise your hand? Oh, sorry. Anybody? Krista?
I'm just curious, it sounded like you had some people interested. Do you have a prospective person that's going in here, or is this just speculative that you're?
I do. I have a number of people interested, and they range from an insurance agency to a real estate agency office. If I have people that don't want to take the entire space, I may make it in kind of an office suite concept. Ideally, I would find one tenant, say an insurance agency or a real estate agency who, like the visibility offered by the space, who would lease the entire space.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Kent. I'm sorry, I might have missed it. Did you discuss the parking, what the requirements are and how you're satisfying that?
Sure. Sorry, I did. I believe the parking regulations do not change from the existing retail use. They are 1 per 200 square feet. And if granted the change to an office use on the ground floor, the parking requirements are the same. We have 73 spaces on site, and there's plenty of parking. We feel that, any tenant that would join the existing complement of tenants, it would do well. Obviously, we're always looking for complementary tenants, so we feel that whether it's an insurance agency or a real estate agency office, that would work well with our existing tenant base in terms of how to manage the parking. But we do meet the regulations in terms of 73 spaces provided on site. And as far as the parking, it's not a change from the existing requirements of retail.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
John Kriz. 2 points. I would assume you tried to lease this out as a retail space. How's retail space letting going in Canaan?
It's certainly soft. I've gone after certain retail tenants that would work, but for a number of reasons, I think this sort of office use here would be best. It's clean, it's easy. The build out is pretty simple when you think about bringing a prepared food vendor in here, and installing a kitchen. This is a much simple, cleaner use. So obviously I feel like we can come to agreement with an office user quicker than we can with the retail use, given the very soft state of the retail market.
There is one toilet facility for this office?
Correct. It's a dedicated ADA bathroom for this space.
Okay. And any tenant would be aware of what the sign rules are in New Canaan?
Yes. Yes, I did not include the sign application with our site plan application tonight because I don't have a lease signed. But I do want to point out the corner nature of this store 5. Your regulations do allow for perhaps one sign up front and one on the corner window. I've certainly made all prospective tenants aware of your sign regulations and included that with my proposal to, the one tenant that I have out right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, I don't see everybody due to the sharing screen, but I think we're all good to go. Okay, so this application's closed.
Thank you.
Okay, since we're in regular meeting mode, we can take a vote on each of these applications. So commissioners, do I have a motion for approval or denial of this site plan application?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, I heard Mr. Kriz. Dick, reasons for approval?
Well, it just seems a very reasonable thing. It's an empty space. It's not in the interest of the town to leave it empty, in my opinion. He sounds like there are potential tenants that would make good use of the space. I see no reason to oppose it.
Okay, great. Any other discussion of the motion? Okay, I'll call the question. John Goodwin, I vote aye. Mrs. Grzelski?
Aye.
Mr. Kriz?
Aye.
Mr. Radman,
Aye.
Ms. Discornia,
Aye.
Mr. Turner,
Aye.
Mr. Ward,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Ms. Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. Okay, item number 2, 15 South Avenue, upon application of Mewella, I apologize if I messed that up, Ramirez, authorized agent for South Avenue Properties, owners for site plan approval of section 42C7 to allow personal services for property in the retail A zone at 15 South Avenue. Is Ms. Ramirez here to present?
She is. Hold on one second. I just need to unmute her because she just.
Okay.
There you are. Perfect. Thank you. There you are, Manuela.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Manuela Ramirez, and I'm here to present my offer to change of zoning for 17th South Avenue, also known as 15 South Avenue, which was previous New Canaan Butcher. And we want to change it to personal services. My business is beauty services. We emphasize lashes and brows, and I think it's going to be a great addition to the town. This is going to be our second location. We have a first location in New York, and we're so happy to be in New Canaan. I'm not going to be doing any big changes to the space. It's perfect as it is. The only thing I'm going to be changing is the floor and some painting. And yeah.
Okay, commissioners, questions for Ms. Ramirez? Actually, I have a question perhaps for you, Lynn. Is in the application is I think a front retail section, but is that required in this zone?
In the, yeah, for the personal services, it'd be like, it's required for the wellness places, and she's putting the personal service up front to sort of create the street frontage that would create a retail. So,
Okay, so that was required.
yeah.
Okay. Commissioner, any other questions, commissioners?
What would she be selling as retail?
It's going to be just products for aftercare of the services that we provide.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So can the floor plan has to show that 20% in front somewhere, delineated how big that area is that's dedicated to the front of house. Can that be updated?
Yeah, so 20% of the front has to be retail.
Right, your drawing needs to show that.
Okay, all right.
Commissioners, just a gentle reminder to use your name when you ask questions, please. Anybody else?
Questions, John Kriz. You mentioned, Ms. Ramirez, minor changes to the property. I would assume that there'd be some changes required in plumbing as far as a hand wash sink and other sinks and other plumbing to perform your business. And I'm wondering what impacts that might have.
Correct. This is Manuela. And again, the plan that he has, because he was a butcher, they had the plumbing ready. So I'm going to have to add 2 sinks. I'm going to have to add the station for cleaning the space. So I included that on the floor plan that I submitted for my application.
Anybody else? Okay, we good? Okay, Ms. Ramirez, just for the record, I messed up your name because it was misspelled on the notice.
It's Manuela. It's really hard to pronounce.
No, I am able to pronounce it, but we need to spell it correctly on the
Sorry, I'm used to it already.
Okay. Okay, this hearing's closed. Do I have a motion for approval or denial? My, we're all very ready.
You're making me nervous.
I move we approve the application, John Kriz.
All right.
Second.
Ms. Kraslecki, Mr. Kriz, reasons for approval.
This would seem to enhance the foot traffic in town, the quality of life in New Canaan. Changes to the property seem minor. The activity to be conducted there is very similar to many others conducted in our downtown area, barbershops and beauty salons and nail salons. So this would seem to be much of a muchness as far as activity. I see this as a positive for retail in New Canaan and in keeping with our plan for conservation development.
Great. Anybody else?
It takes advantage of the changes that we made in the zoning regulation a year and a half or so ago.
Okay, I'll call the question. John Goodwin, I vote yes. Mrs. Grozecki,
Yes.
Mr. Chris,
Yes.
Mr. Radman,
Yes.
Ms. Discornia,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Nielsen.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Okay, we will now go into the public hearing portion of the meeting. Item number 3, 115 Seminary Street. Upon application, David Rucci, Lampert, Tui, and Rucci, authorized agent for Seminary Street LLC, owner for special permit and site approval of sections 32CB3. I actually think that should say 32C1B3, 64G1 and 2, 64I8 to allow construction of a detached two-family structure, allow grading in excess of 1,000 square feet, soil disturbance in excess of 10,000 square feet, and allow a slope greater than 4 to 1 in a yard setback for property in the B residence zone at 115 Seminary. Mr. Rucci.
Yeah, hi, good evening. With me this evening also is Anthony Tomas, who's the owner and builder on the property. And we also have engineer Tom Quinn with us and the landscape architect Kate Throckmorton. You all may remember a couple months ago, we subdivided this property on the corner of Seminary and Schofield Lane. We have a lot in the back, which is in the A zone. And then this lot is essentially, for the most part, all in the B zone. It's about 77% in the B zone and about 23% in the A zone. The way we developed the property was we ended up basically using all the B zone regulations for these two units. We're able to go with the detached units or for a two-family in the B zone based on the fact that it's over 15,000 square feet. It's about 15,373 square feet. It is a corner lot, so it has to comply with both 2 front yards and a rear yard and a side yard. So you'll be aware of that, as I'll talk about that a little bit later. If Lynn can put up the map, site plan, that might be helpful. I'm not sure if she has that. That's number.
Yes, I'm loading it right now.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
That's fine. So anyway, the lot itself, as you'll see, we've essentially pulled back the property. We have a 25-foot access way. We're using the same entry off Seminary Street that was there before. It's a slightly larger, but you will note in the entry area that the way the driveway comes in, it's coming in and then it's sort of going around to the east to service the unit A in the front, and it's going around in the front along Schofield Lane to service the unit in the rear of the property. You know, we could have done this either way in the sense of, you know, whether you detach them, whether you keep them together. Essentially, we just thought that detaching them looked better. And the rationale behind that was the fact that you're essentially coming from, as you come down Seminary, sort of from the B zone into the A zone, you're going by a lot of, you're going by a condo right next to us to the east. You have two-family houses across the street to us, and then you sort of work into a single-family residence zone. So the thought process behind separating these two was the sense that we wanted to make it look like it was basically two single-family houses, for lack of better words, rather than one big house that had two doors on it, because it didn't seem to be the right transition into sort of the Schofield Lane area. So that's the rationale behind it. And we've talked a little bit about the neighbors about that particular issue, and you may hear from them tonight about it. For us, it was purely aesthetics as to why we did it that way. Both houses are going to face Schofield Lane, even though you can see that the entrance is going to come in on the same entrance on the Seminary Street. Unit A has a footprint of about 1,178 square feet. They'll have just under 3,000 square feet of living space in it. There'll be a 2-car garage that you'll see to the east that sort of faces the condominiums, which are also on the east. And then Unit B, which is sort of on top a little bit more, you see there on this thing, it'll be 12,032 square feet with about 2,700 square feet of living space. And you'll note that it's got a 1.5-car garage as you come up sort of the hill past Building A. And then there's an additional spot sort of in front of the unit itself. Like I said, it's designed to face Schofield Lane. It's going to be professionally landscaped. It's going to be professionally engineered. Both those people are with us this evening. To give you an idea of one other differentiation, and I think you'll see this, or Lynn may have picked up on it already from Maria from engineering, is we initially were going to bring the utilities in through Schofield. We're not doing that anymore. We're bringing them in through Seminary Street, and we'll have an easement between the two properties as to how that's going to be done. And obviously, if we're fortunate enough to get a approval this evening, that would have to be a condition on this particular special permit. The fact that the engineering condition that Maria put forward, and Tom Quinn can talk a little bit more about that, is something that we're obviously willing to agree to. There's no wetlands on the property as far as special permit provisions go, so there's no sort of environmental issues with respect to that. We believe it's suitable for the location of this particular property, and we think it's going to improve this particular piece of property. There's adequate utilities that are going to be coming in from Seminary. It's on town water, it's on town sewer, so those don't really tend to be an issue. As far as the plan of conservation development goes, it's consistent with the plan of conservation as far as, allowing higher density properties to be utilized closer to town, closer to the train station. Obviously, we all hope everyone's going to be using the train station again. We know that that's not as big a thing anymore. So we're hoping to get an approval this evening for this particular 2-family, separated the way it is. Lynn, if you could go to 4, number 4 that I sent you, please.
Sure, 1 second. Give me a second to load it while you...
So these are the architecturals that I'm sure you all want to see. And I also wanted to then go quickly to 5 after that, because I want to show you the materials that we're going to use. So these are just the architecturals. I guess that's an interior floor plan of it. I wonder if you could just get to sort of the outside look. So this is what it's going to look like on paper, and I'll show you some pictures after this of sort of real life. You may recall that Mr. Tomas has been before the commission before. He's done 2 projects that you may know of in New Canaan, one over on East Maple, which was a 2-family residence that's attached. And then he also did 2 2-family residences down on Park Street, which are detached. Those detached ones are the ones that are next to the parking lot, the commuter lot, beyond where sort of the old post office was, and Oxygen and the yoga studio, et cetera, down on that corner of Park Street and Richmond Hill. If you could go to the next one, Lynn, 5, please.
Okay. Give me a second. I gotta come up. They gotta be pulled up individually.
Okay. So anyway, I just want to give you sort of an idea of what these 2 look like. I'm sure you all have seen them before, if you don't recall them from the applications that we had before. These are sort of the materials and what the look will be it's more of a colonial type of look. I think they're just photos. I think that's just the architectural.
You want me to bring up the photos?
Yeah,
I
the
can bring
photos.
up the photos.
Sorry. That's
Okay.
fine.
I didn't realize that's what you wanted. I thought you just wanted to go next in line.
And these are, like I said, the Park Street and the East Maple. East Maple, the one that's next to it, is the one that's right next to the cleaners. So yeah, so the top picture are the detached ones that are on Park Street that were done. And then the bottom is the one that's attached. And those are the ones that are on East Maple. That's just to give you an idea of the materials that are going to be used. And I can let Mr. Tomas obviously answer any question from the architects or anyone else on the board who has questions about those. I think that's for now. I can, Mr. Goodwin, I don't know if you want to have Tom Quinn run through the site plan, if you want to ask me any other questions now about this particular part. And we also have the landscape plan that I think Kate Throckmorton is here to sort of give you an idea of how we're going to shade this and shield it from other properties.
Perhaps commissioners, maybe we listen to the landscape plan and then we go to Q&A. How's that sound?
Good.
I just received word that she's not in. She's at another meeting.
Landscape architect.
I'm Anthony Tomas, sorry. She just texted me that she's right in the middle of another meeting. We thought she would be through.
All right, well, let's pull up the landscape plan anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, either Mr. Ruch or Mr. Tomas, if you can do your best to take us through it. I think it's relevant.
Yep. Anthony, do you want to
Give
go
me 1
through that?
second, I'll pull it up.
Anthony, do you want to go through it or do you want me to?
Can you all see that on the screen?
We can see it, Lynn.
Okay.
Go ahead, David. Do the best you can.
All right. Well, obviously, you know, this is a pretty important corner for people in and around that neighborhood. So what we've tried to do is to bring in native Connecticut / Northeast types of landscaping materials and plants, et cetera, to plant this corner. Obviously, we have an interest as much as anyone else to be sure that it's properly screened from not only the neighbors on Schofield and Seminary, but obviously the condominiums and for the people that will end up living in this particular in these particular units. We were, you know, Mr. Kriz has always been always asked that we be sure that we use native plants and plants native to Connecticut. We have done that or as a part of this plan. You know, our intent is obviously to shield this as much as possible and screen it as much as possible for the neighborhood. I couldn't go through the various species here. I'm sure there's others who can, but obviously our plan is, and you can note even on the side of the plan that, you know, these particular trees and shrubs and plants that we're using, you know, may, when we get to the site, have to be changed, but obviously anything that has to be changed will be run by the town planner. If they're something going to be either markedly different, but according to the plan, they're going to have to be something that's we presented this evening. And I don't know, Anthony, if you want to add anything to that.
Just maybe the front stone wall that we had.
Oh, right.
A lot of neighbors, you know, it's so intrusive that people do want to talk about it. And we are going to be taking off the top 4 feet of the high portion of the wall, which would, you know, reduce it down tremendously. And we are going to add a fence on top of that wall from the steps that you see from Seminary all the way around the bend and up all the way to the end of the property. So we resolve any safety issues. Also want to point out they're pulling in the driveway from Seminary Street. We added some nice retaining wall. So, you know, when you're coming in, you'll see a 2-tier retaining wall with plantings on each tier, which, you know, it looks, I think it's going to look real great in town here versus just pulling in and looking smack right at a building. That's,
I have a question, Ken Turner.
yes.
You know, we've experienced some very difficult challenges as far as retaining walls lately. How do you have an elevation of it? How high is it? What material will it be?
Yes. So on the one on the one on Seminary and Schofield that's existing, we have that on our engineer plan, and Tom Quinn will be able to answer this question better than me. And also the retaining walls that are inside the property are all top of wall, bottom of wall elevations. Exactly, we have to follow. So I don't know if Tom Quinn is here, he can jump in and talk about that.
All right, if I speak?
Please do.
Tom Quinn, Peak Engineers. As Anthony said, I'm the licensed professional engineer. My office is located in Reading, Connecticut. We walked the site several times, beginning back in April and I believe in May. And as Anthony said, that Schofield Lane wall, as it comes from Seminary Street and then heads up towards the north along Schofield, I believe that wall varies in height from 8 to 12 feet. So taking off that top 4 feet is going to help a lot. And then in regards to the other walls that are on the property, there's no wall that exceeds the requirement for the 4 foot maximum height. As a matter of fact, the 2 walls in front of Building A there off of Seminary, they are both under 4 feet, I believe. I believe one is 3.5 feet and the other is 3 feet. The rest of the grading has all been done to meet the zoning requirements. As a matter of fact, I believe, I don't know if David mentioned it, that David Rucci, that this application did seek the 4-to-1 to the 4-to-1 slope. We were looking for some additional steepness. We do not need to do that anymore. Since I'm talking, I thought I'd go ahead and just go into what the drainage is. Lynn, if I could share my screen, maybe I could do that. I won't take up a lot of time. I know
Okay.
everybody.
Let's see if you can share. Mr. Sachs was able to before. If you can't share, I can pull up your engineering drawings.
Well, it's asking you to allow me to share.
You should be able to. I'm not limiting anybody right now. Do you want me to pull up your engineering drawings?
Sure. I had some colored sketches I was going to show you, but basically,
did it definitely not work, Lynn? We couldn't.
I mean, there's nothing on my end that says that he can't share it. It just has to be one person at a time. So there's nothing that says it's open to everyone. So you should be able to.
It's asking me to provide a link, but anyway,
Okay.
Lynn, you could also, since we're talking right now, it was my understanding that the town engineer, Maria Copley, she was going to give you a memo stating that the drainage report has been performed in conformance with the drainage policy. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just touch on that I did speak with Maria, and she said that to me, that Peak Engineers, we performed a drainage analysis meeting the town's drainage policy. And of
There's
course,
a memo.
What's that?
There's the memo on screen right now.
Oh, okay. Of course, that drainage policy is in regards to peak flow and volume and peak rate of runoff. So as David said, we've got about 2,200 square feet of additional impervious area on this property. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some underground infiltrators in, and we're going to capture a vast majority of the impervious area of the site and slowly release that. As a matter of fact, the system will be effective in reducing the peak rate of runoff by approximately 26% from the existing condition and the volume by 24%. So we are effectively decreasing the potential for water coming off this property. In addition to the drainage policy also asks us to consider best management practices in regards to erosion and water quality and so forth. So I just want to state here at this meeting that the drainage plan submitted and the reports and details and so forth submitted, they're going to achieve 4 separate things. In addition to collecting the water to decrease the peak rates and volumes, we're also collecting some additional impervious area so that we can capture the water quality volumes coming from those areas. The second thing that we're doing is we're providing pre-treatment, which is very important when you're talking about underground infiltration. The pre-treatment will capture all of the roof water, of course, and allow maintenance to be performed before it goes into the infiltrators. And we're also providing pre-treatment in the catch basins in the form of tea. And then finally, the infiltrators provide, like I said, the water quality volume and also the groundwater recharge volume. So we're doing those things for our best management practices. And of course, sedimentation erosion controls will all be installed meeting the current 2002 Connecticut guidelines. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Okay, Mr. Rucci, has everybody presented that is available and you wanted to present?
Yes.
Okay, great. Commissioners, questions for the applicant?
Could you bring up that site plan again that showed the top of wall elevations relative to the grade of the driveway?
That's Mr. Radman. Mr. Radman, you're being
All right.
bad. You're not
Dan
using-
Radman. Yeah, that one.
It's,
Are you able to zoom in at all? So you're trying to maintain a 4-foot height on the walls, on those retaining walls, is that right? Am I reading that correctly?
Can I interrupt for a second, Lynn? That's the alternative plan. Would you please show the preferred plan?
Is it one of the drawings that's on the, it's uploaded on the site?
That
Yes,
is where, yeah.
If you can tell me what the file name is, I can look at it myself.
And Mr. Quinn, Mr. Radman's referring to things already posted to the P&Z website. Do you know the name of the one that you want to start with?
I don't have that list in front of me. I think it's number 1, right, David?
No,
Yeah.
the link
I
I
have
sent you
a-
would be number 3. It'd be number 3 on what I sent you. That's the site.
Yep, that's it.
Sorry about that.
Facility. Gotcha.
The reason I wanted to go to this one, I believe it was one of the commissioners, I'm sorry, there's many more spot elevations shown on this. So if you look to the, zoom into the part on the right there, Lynn, yep, there you go.
Yep.
Just bear with me. It's a little bit of technology here.
Yeah.
Gotta adjust the screen just right.
We can see it well now, Lynn.
Okay.
So you've got 2 tiers, as you come in that driveway, you've got 2 tiers of retaining walls and planting areas going up about, each is about a 4-foot face exposure of retaining wall, is that right?
The first one, as you mentioned, is 4 feet, and the second one is 3 feet.
Right, with a steeply sloping planting area between the 2, so you're picking up a foot or 2 of grade between them.
It slopes.
Ballpark?
It slopes about 1.5 feet in 6
Yep.
feet. And then between the top of the second wall, which is, just to be clear, it's elevation 343, and the
Yep.
elevation right at the face of the building is 343. So that's dead flat there.
So what's going to be So if top of wall is 343, but your bottom portion of wall is 338 and a half, that 338 and a half is obviously ascending as it's going up the driveway, right? It's going to follow the drive to some degree. But when you get to, so it's a 4-foot wall, but when you get to the driveway marker where it says elevation 336, which is kind of where the second wall dies into the curved retaining wall, if you've got a 4-foot wall, that's a 340 elevation top of wall, but your inner upper wall is 3 feet higher than that. So how is that resolving? How's that transition between your retaining walls resolving itself? It's going to look funny if your grades don't transition. They don't seem to work there.
I believe just at that would be the
southwest corner.
Southwest corner of that building. There's a spot elevation there, 343.5. So I believe from there down to the top of the wall that you're talking about, it will be steeper. That'll be the steeper slope. And I believe we can do a 3-to-1 there because it's outside the building setback. So that is about a 9-foot distance. So we can drop the 3 feet that's necessary to get that wall down to 4 feet.
Well, I'm guessing the goal is to have, I guess your goal is to have the primary retaining wall that is following the driveway be a consistent 4-foot height as it's going up to some degree, right? 4 feet or less, right?
Less than 4, yes, 4 feet or less.
So I think you have to reconsider how that second tier of retaining wall, I know what you're trying to achieve, but I don't think the grading and how they connect is going to work. You're going to end up with this really tall wall and a funny grading condition happening where the two meet.
Yep.
I kind of disagree. What I look at it is the second wall that's, let's call it parallel with seminary there.
Right.
That's going to be varying top elevation. That's going to be, you follow me? So that's going to be 343 at its highest point right in front of the building, and then it's going to slope down in an arc to the left and to the right.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I could add some spot elevations on there for clarity, but my intent there was really to show that all of the walls are less than the 4 feet that's required to meet zoning.
Yeah. Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, it's Kent Turner. I have a question. We don't have an elevation, or I should say a perspective, that shows the retaining wall in relationship to the house and to the street. I think it's very disappointing. This is a complex geometry, and you still haven't answered the question about, number one, what is the material? Number two, how much of the face of the wall will you see? So, Lynn, I think it's very important in these applications that we have some kind of, 3D visualization of, what it's going to look like, especially on that corner.
I would agree with Kent, and I have a little concern. The condos on East Maple have a little bit of a feeling of the cars sitting up in the air or highly elevated. And is this going to have the same effect with the way that this driveway goes up? It's very hard to tell with the retaining wall over there.
Tom, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I guess the driveway is meeting the town drainage policy, the town driveway policy, which is, it comes in at no more than a foot in that first 20 feet. So then we achieve elevation 333 right at the property line. So as it comes around to the garage for building A, the highest point there is 336 is what I'm seeing. So it will go up sharply to 336, but then it goes back down to the garage. The garage is going to be at 335.
Yeah, unfortunately, the cars are very seldom in the garage. In the condos, hopefully with the house, it'll be the same, a little different.
Yeah,
We've had some comments about that they would, people would prefer not to see elevated parking, so to speak.
Yeah, I wish Kate were here. I don't know if she is tuned in yet, but she could definitely discuss the amount of screening that she's proposing with the plantings. I just can't get into that. I haven't even looked at the plant list.
I'd like to say something. So regarding East Maple, yes, you're correct. The parking is right in the front, and the car is up high, even though we follow the rules and regulations. Here we have a different situation where the parking is going to be behind Building A, which you're not going to see from the road. They're going to be around the retaining wall. And the ones for Building B are, it's between the two houses. So that's, you're not going to be able to see that from the road also because of the front retaining wall is so high.
So looking from the corner, you're not going to be able really to see cars parked in the driveway
No,
that much for either house. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Thank you.
I have a question. I think Mr. Rucci said, and I could be mistaken, but for the number of parking spaces for Building B was 1.5. Is that correct?
There's a garage that's 1.5, and then there's another space next to it. So there's a 1.5 car garage on B, while A has a 2-car garage. And then there's also another side spot, as you can see, in between B and A. So there's kind of 2.5 for B and 2 for A.
So realistically, a car would be outside Building B
Could be, sure.
at all times. But you're saying that we won't be able to see it because the elevation and the landscaping.
Yeah, and don't forget right now, I mean, that elevation in that wall is high as well. So, you know, we are bringing it down a little bit, this site. And, you know, obviously the intent is to screen these areas. The intent's not to have it sitting out in the middle of you know, like it's in the middle of town or something like that. So, you know, from our perspective, as much screening as we put in, that was the intent of the screening. And I know Anthony and Tomas talked to Kate about it, Kate Throckmorton, who did this. That was one of our concerns as well, because obviously our interests are the same as far as, you know, making this look attractive.
Mm-hmm. And has the fire marshal looked at this? Is there enough room and everything for trucks and everything?
Yeah, the fire marshal has looked at this and likes this particular design. When we were talking about moving Building B back towards Building A, he was less thrilled about that because of the separation between the two buildings, A and B. But in this particular case, Tom Payne, who works with Anthony Tomas, has spoken with Fred, and this was the preferred plan of his.
Okay, thanks.
It's Kent Turner again. I
no,
just have,
go ahead, Ken.
I still don't know what the material is going to be for the retaining wall.
Oh, so I can answer that. So we had to blast quite a bit on the other site. So we're using the materials out of the ground. We're using the stones from the site. So it'll be stone. You won't see the cement. The cement will be behind the wall, but it's all going to be real stone walls. No poured concrete with glued on stone or nothing like that. This is the real thing.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
This is Dan Radman. I just want to touch on two things. For the commission, I just want to make sure everyone's aware of the type of subdivision that we're talking about here. You guys may have been aware of and have seen the site prior to demolition, the single house on this corner lot, a long rectangular parcel, and you may see the excavation that's going on now. If you look at, but be aware that the two homes on this particular parcel only represents half of the lot, or 2/3 of the lot that was prior there. The house that's on the top portion of the drawing that you're looking at proposed conditions, you can kind of see the little corner of it. That's also part of the lot that's being subdivided. And that's a new house that's being wedged in there as well. So there's really 3 houses going on to this onto this lot that used to have one house. I'm just stating a fact to make sure that all the commission members are aware of the density of development that's happening here. The second part is I'm still not convinced the grading works. For example, the retaining wall, which goes a good portion of the length along Schofield Lane, you're only showing a little portion of it remaining on this drawing on the southwest corner. But what you are showing is a drastic difference in grade elevations. If you follow the driveway up to the top, you've got a spot elevation of 344 in the top left corner of the building B parking area. And only about 4 feet away, it drops down to the roadway and travelway, which is 336. That's an 8-foot drop. Up at the top left corner of the site, the grading shows that it's, I can't tell if it's 348 or 344, which is new, which is old. I'm assuming 344 is the new. But again, that's another 8-foot drop, or sorry, 6-foot drop between there and the road below. That it can't just drop that way. There's got to be more definition here of how the transitions are being made. Is there a retaining wall or a step or something that we're not seeing, or that maybe not noted on the drawing?
Tom Quinn, I can answer that. I'm sorry it's not clear to you, and that's between me and the surveyor. Maybe that we should have changed our notations, but the wall that it currently exists all along Schofield, that wall is staying there. So that wall is between 8 feet and 12 feet tall. It's staying there. We're taking the top 4 feet off. So we're right along the property line. You see there's a little wiggle there, Lynn. I don't know if you can point to it, if you could zoom in. That wall's staying there. So specifically the spot elevation that you mentioned, 336 out in the street, I believe, and then 344 in that parking area. In between there's a wall that exists. It's about 8 feet tall.
I see. So where the property line along your western edge is shown, that property line also happens to coincide with the exact location of where the existing wall is.
Correct.
Yeah.
It just, that wall is drawn as a single line right now instead of a wall. So it's just not very defined.
Well, it's hard to see it from that on the TV screen here, but yeah, if you zoom in, it's the surveyor uses a notation that has little triangles, and that is the symbol for a retaining wall. Yeah.
Yep. Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And yeah, and this is David Rucci, and just to give a little more color to Mr. Radman's comment. Yes, it's true, but as far as the fact that you're going to have 3 homes roughly on this lot, but it was a large lot in both the B and the A zone, and the house behind that was divided off is meeting all the regulations for the A zone. So, and that will meet all the regulations for the A zone. And this particular 2 pieces of these 2 buildings that we're proposing, I mean, to put in perspective, it's only about 3,800 square feet of footprint altogether, and we could have put them together. Really, the issue is sort of, did we put them together or do we keep them apart? So, my answer to that is just, we thought it was aesthetically more pleasing to keep them apart. Either way, we could have built the same footprint, for lack of, we still would need approval for 2-family, and I'm not discounting that. But this was just a way to sort of, we thought it would look better and transition better into the A zone, and also look better with the houses that are already on Schofield Lane. So while you're accurate for sure that this is 3 versus 1 that was there before, it was a large lot, and they are meeting the zoning regs as far as footprints and setbacks and all those things.
Completely understood. I just wanted to make sure the commission was aware of what they're seeing on the screen doesn't represent the entire lot. That's all.
Yeah. David, it's Kent Turner. How will there be access to that 3rd house? Will you extend the driveway in front of building B, or will it have a separate entry?
No, that's going to go off Schofield Lane.
Okay.
That will have its own entrance off of Schofield Lane.
Okay, great.
So
Thanks.
there'll be no, it's just this one lot's just, this is just these 2, this one lot is going to be Seminary, and in Schofield, which you can't see really, you see a quarter of it, will have its own driveway.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioners, additional questions?
John Kriz, I have 2 I'd like to pursue. One is the driveway funnels down to Seminary and is very steep. I'm just wondering about significant water runoff in the into the street and how that may be entering a storm sewer, where the storm sewer might be, how you've thought about this issue.
Yeah, Tom Quinn again here. Again, I wish I could share my documents, but so Building B, see this here? Oh, can you see me doing that? So Building B is being detained in this stormwater detention area, which is just east of Building A. The driveway portion in front of the garage for Building A runs. Lynn, can you? Oh, it's okay. We can see this. So the garage portion in front of Building A, there's a catch basin right here. Okay, right in the eastern corner. That is going to catch the parking area in front of Building A. And then the driveway area in front of Building B, there's a catch basin in the westernmost portion there. And then the water that's coming down the steep portion that you just mentioned, John, is there's a double wide catch basin proposed right down before it goes out into Seminary Street. So a double wide basin. And all of those basins will be connected to the underground infiltrators that we talked about. And they've all been sized for the water quality volume or exceed the water quality volume. Presently, the water from the entire asphalt area drains, and the front house portion of the old house, all drained right out into Seminary Street. So as a matter of fact, we are capturing far more of the impervious area that currently flows right out into the street.
Thank you. The second question has to do with the landscape plan. I'm encouraged that the applicant is thinking about planting native plants. There are a few that aren't, like the leucothoe, which is Virginian South, the Amber Jubilee, which is a Missouri plant, and hydrangea, which is more of a Gulf Coast plant. So maybe a few could be improved. But if I can make a suggestion, perhaps for Ms. Abney to tell applicants as well as Mr. Rucci, in addition to a plant list that has the botanical name, which is useful, common name, size, all good, details on whether it's a native plant and it's native to our area, as well as the wildlife effects, such as it's helpful for pollinators, helpful for birds, would be, I think, perhaps useful for the general public as well as me, and I hope other members of the commission, so we can, fully understand the implications of any landscape plan.
Understood.
Mr. Rucci, can you, or whoever the right person is, revisit the easement issue, please?
Well, there won't be per se an easement, but I might have misspoke before.
Okay.
Since it's one property, all I was trying to say was that we were going to take utilities off of Schofield and into the property, but we're not doing that anymore. We were initially going to maybe run all the utilities into both lots, the one that we had already subdivided off, but we're not doing that anymore. We're just keeping all the utilities separate for both lots. So I misspoke when I said that we were going to run an easement up. We are not going to run an easement up the driveway.
Okay, commissioners, any additional questions before I open it up to the public?
Utilities will all be buried. John Chris speaking.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, Lynn, let's open it up to the public, please.
Okay. If everyone could just use their raise their hand function on their screen, because there's a lot of you tonight, that would be helpful in finding who wants to speak. Jack M., are you Mr. Sutton?
Yes, yeah, thank you. Sorry, I'm not sure how to raise my hand. So I have a couple of quick comments. First, I wanted to ask a question of
Excuse
Mr.
me.
Ritchie.
Excuse me, sir. Your audio is not great. Can you give us your name and your address, please? And if I didn't hear it, I apologize.
Of course, I'm sorry. My name is Jack Sutton. I live across the street at 122 Seminary Street.
Thank you.
And as I said, I'd like to just ask a quick question, and then I had two brief comments. It looks like from the building plan of Seminary A that there is a 4-story elevator, and I was wondering if I'm reading that correctly, and if so, why that was necessary.
So A is the garages enter from the lower level, which I call, the basement, but we call lower level. It's just a matter for bringing groceries up to the kitchen, water bottles and luggage to get up there, easier access. It's kind of used like a dumbwaiter, but that to me, for resale, it's a nice feature to have elevator, especially when you're parking. You don't have to go up the whole flight of stairs with all groceries. Thanks.
It's just for groceries, or is it like a passenger elevator as well?
Oh, it's passenger too, yes.
Okay, thanks. So 2 quick comments, and thank you for that. The first was, the front structure, Seminary A, is really where I have my concern, and I believe the original plan that was submitted with the subdivision application had a single structure sitting further back on the lot, which makes sense because I believe that's where it levels off, and you don't have the same issues with building retaining walls to account for the elevation. And so if I'm reading the engineering plans correctly, and I'm entirely a layperson, so, I could not be, and if so, I apologize, but it looks like towards the front of Seminary A, the elevation is being increased, the average grade is being increased by 4 or 5 feet in some places. So the result seems to be a structure that's going to stand taller, higher than would otherwise be permitted, and therefore be taller than some of the surrounding homes. And that issue wouldn't be as much of a concern to me if, under the original plan, it was a single attached structure further back on the lot, because then it's set back another 40 or 50 feet, and it's not looking down specifically into my yard. And my neighbor, Joe Colombo, who's at 112 Seminary, raised a similar concern, but we couldn't be here tonight, and asked me to convey that as well. And then the second point I wanted to raise, and I think Mr. Rich addressed this to an extent, was sort of the justification for these special permits. Again, I'm very much a layman here, but my understanding from previously coming across variances and special permits is that in economic justification is usually not sufficient. And I don't really see the rationale if you can build an attached with the same square footage and with the same housing the same number of families, why this additional structure is necessary, especially since the first plan that was submitted didn't anticipate that. So I would just ask the commission to please, consider those points and also consider what precedent this might set.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sutton. Anybody else from the public like to address this application? Lynn, give me the heads up, please, when you can.
Yes, I will.
Okay, kindly state your name and address, please.
Oh, yes. Hi, my name is Maria Paldino on 53 Schofield Lane. And the reason why I'm a little concerned because he says he's going to raise the wall down and the driveway that he goes up. And plus it's facing on Schofield Lane. It should face on Seminary. If it is a 2-family, it should face both on Seminary. Why is it facing on Schofield and they put in their driveway that anybody could back up into the driveway, could actually go over the wall? And it happened on Schofield Lane right on my property too, that somebody backed up the driveway and came down the wall. I mean, that is so easy to do because when you're in such a steep driveway going down, it's very hard to see when you're backing out of the driveway or the garage. It's very dangerous. If he wants a two family, that's fine, separate, I don't care. But they should both face on Seminary, because there is a B zone and it's a Seminary, not on Schofield Lane. Because if he wants to face it on Schofield Lane, then he should have the proper land.
Okay, thank you very much. Would anyone else from the public like to address this application?
I would.
Okay.
Yes, hi, I'm Elena Schlegel. I live at 26 Schofield Lane. I've lived here for 20 years, and I guess I'm just curious to know how a property goes from being a Zone A to a Zone B, and why there can be 3 houses on this lot versus 2.
Well, the short answer is, and what we're really looking for from the public is input. So if you do not want to have it, the short answer is under special permit, the regulations allow it. But we welcome your input.
Well, I don't understand special permits. I drive up Seminary Street and I see 2 cluster homes shoved on maybe a quarter of an acre. And when are we going to stop cramming homes into this town? I grew up here. I've lived here most of my life, and it breaks my heart to see what is happening here. And I don't understand these special permits. Like, how do you get around it? How do you stop it?
Okay, any other input?
Just, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. To answer your question, the commission will have to make a decision upon this special permit application. We also always welcome anybody's input having to do with their view of whether there's too much development or not in New Canaan. Anybody else from the public like to address this application?
Good evening, Jonathan Jameson from 33 Schofield Lane.
Please proceed.
I just had a quick question of clarification because it was a little hard to read the drawings and the elevation of the wall on Schofield Lane. Right now, it's quite high, and there's a lot of new construction going on that could alter that height. And I was wondering, and it was addressed, I just wanted to hear it again to make certain I followed it correctly. So it's a clarification question. What that wall that's currently certainly over 15 feet, I haven't taken a tape measure out, but I would think at its highest point, it might be up to 20. What the elevation of that is going to be, and my question stems from 2 thoughts. One, the optics of it as you come up Schofield Lane, but more importantly, the safety of it. And what is the town code around that? How high can a wall, a retaining wall like that be?
Mr. Rucci, you and your team care to answer that question?
Do you want us to wait for all the people to go through, or?
Sure, we can do that as well.
Make
Make a note of it. Okay. Anybody else want to? So, Mr. Jameson will, the applicant will address your question when we're done with the public.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anybody else from the public like to address this application?
Joan Gray or Steve, are you here for this application?
Yes, but I don't have any questions. I'm Steve Barlow at 109 Seminary. I don't have any questions on this at this point.
Okay.
Look like we're good, Lynn?
1 second. Linda Lasky, Sarah Irwin, or Nancy, are you here for this application?
Hi, Linda Lasky here. I'm waiting on another agenda item.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we're good, Lynn?
I'm also waiting for another application.
Okay,
awesome.
Great. Okay, Mr. Rucci, why don't you address Mr. Jameson's question, please?
Okay, I think that we've addressed it earlier, so maybe Tom Quinn, the engineer, can give you a good idea of how high the exact wall is now, whether what it's being brought down to, and the whole point of bringing the wall down was to actually make it safer and that sort of answers another person's question here. And there will be something on it, a fence on it, so that we won't have cars that are gonna somehow, some way go over that wall. I mean, once again, our application is designed to make this property safe, attractive, and fit in with the neighborhood. It's not designed to do anything other than that. But let me ask Tom Quinn to talk specifically about Mr. Jameson's question with respect to exactly how high that wall is and what it's being brought down to.
Hi, this is Tom Quinn again. I'm not looking at exact elevations of the wall, but like I've stated, that wall from the corner of Schofield all the way up to the northern portion of our property line, that wall goes anywhere from 4 feet, and the vast majority is 8 feet or more, and then up to at least 12 feet. And I believe the person of the public said that it might go as high as 20. I don't think it goes as high as 20, but I do think it's definitely at 12 feet for quite a bit of the length. What we propose to do is the vast majority of the length of that wall, we're going to take 4 feet right off the top. So it will be less obtrusive. It will be a safer condition. It won't look like a corridor when you drive up Schofield Lane as it does now with this large structure on the right-hand side. It's going to come down at least 4 feet, the top of that wall. And I'm talking about the wall that exists, that's right along the property line.
Okay.
But you're talking, this is Dan Radman, but you're talking about taking that wall down and then adding a 4-foot fence on top of it, right?
Yes.
And Lynn, how does that doesn't comply with our zoning regs for fences, does it?
It's gonna have to be 6 feet tall at the property line.
A total of 6 feet tall.
Yeah, or they can seek a variance from the zoning board.
Right. So there's more to do on this fence than tonight.
It's existing wall already. So I'm not gonna, if I take 4 feet off a wall and I put 4 feet of fence, I do end up, at the same height. But that's, again, the fence was for safety. 3 feet is better. I'll do 3 feet. Just to. Mostly for pedestrians, because right now there is no fence.
Sure. How does that work with existing conditions, Lynn? If they're keeping the height, the overall height as it exists?
The existing fence could remain as is. It would be an existing condition that could stay on the site. If they add a fence to the wall, if they take it down, then they're changing the existing conditions. So then you'd have to technically get to 6 feet max.
Okay.
But we may have to look at that issue more. Obviously we're going to be in compliance with the zoning regulations regardless of what we do. As far as coming in for our final permit. So we'll take another look at that particular issue if in fact we do need to get another permit for something that's higher, whether or not we can figure out something else with that wall.
Okay. Mr. Rucci, any concluding comments?
I would just say as far as Mr. Sutton's concerns, the heights are going to remain under the regulations. So the height of the building is 35 feet or less. That's what the building's going to be at that spot. So it shouldn't be any higher or lower than what is allowable by the regulations. And the first plan that we showed when we were doing our subdivision, we just throw houses on there just to show what can be done. They're not in actual conditions as to exactly what we want to do. We have no idea a lot of the time as to what we were going to do. And as I stated earlier in this hearing, honestly, the two house look is something that we think looks better aesthetically. And that, yes, we could have done a longer house, but we didn't think that looked good. And we didn't think it was a good transition into the A zone, which is why we have it the way that we have it. And Mr. Tomas has had success in doing both. He's had success in building houses that are 2 families that are together and 2 families that are separated. And each of those has been successful as far as the people that have lived in them or purchased them. So it's not necessarily an economic issue for us, which was something that brought up. Not that that's necessarily anything that this board necessarily deals with. And then as far as Mrs. Palladino's comments as to where they're facing, I mean, you know, the property is what the property is. We're allowed to face them which way we want to face them. And once again, we think that that works better, facing them that way than facing them over onto Seminary. It's purely an aesthetic issue for our client and for what we think looks better on the property. Other than that, we think that the application is meets all the regulations of the special permit. We think it's appropriate for this particular zone and this particular piece of property, and that we are asking the commission to make a finding that it's in the best interest of the property to put these particular units on there. We, once again, will take a condition with respect to the engineering plan. We will look into the fence issue on top of the wall. Obviously, we can't do anything that's, you know, in violation of any of the regulations. And once again, I ask the commission to, you know, look at what Mr. Tomas has done before on this particular, in this town. He's built very nice buildings. As far as the one up the street that people don't seem to like, that lot is only 11,700 square feet. This lot is over 15,300 square feet. So it's a completely different animal as far as the lot area itself.
Could I say something?
Sure, Mr. Tomas.
Regarding the wall, the existing wall that's there. And the only reason why we want to lower it, it doesn't help me in any way. It only costs me money to lower this wall. So it's aesthetics, okay? So if it's going to cause a problem or anything, let's leave it. And then, you know, it'll be at some high, big, ugly wall. And we could leave it like that. And that way we don't need a variance for a fence. I don't know if we have the right or we can approve something that looks nicer to me, taking 4 feet off of that, putting a nice fence above it. It's for looks. Am I right, Tom or David, or am I wrong, or is?
No, the reason, I'm sorry, Tom Quinn here. I believe back in April, May, when we were walking the property, I believe that the only reason we talked about lowering was that wall was because I think our original thought with the neighbors is that they would like us to lower the wall.
Yeah, that's what I remember. So this whole, I don't want to open a can of worms here. You know, if everybody's against that and it's going to cause a lot of commotion, I'd be glad to, you know, keep the wall the way it is.
Okay, commissioners, question for you. What's your pleasure? Do we know enough to close this application, or, you know, we have had some concerns. I've heard, you know, some more on screening as well as visualization. You know, what's your pleasure? Any thoughts?
John, it's Kent. I think we do have enough information. It's my recommendation that we close the hearing. And as far as the issues that have been raised, I think we can handle that with conditions.
Okay. Anybody disagree, commissioners? Okay, this hearing's closed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Item number 4 has been continued to next month. So item number 5, 16 Hemlock Hill Road, upon application of Andrew and Ashley Burr, owners, for a special permit approval, sections 34C6, to allow construction of a pool, spa, pool house, and related site work within the front yard of the property and located within 150 feet of Hemlock Hill Road and Owen-Oak Ridge Road. The pool house will be set back 87 feet 6 inches from Hemlock Hill Road and 96 feet 7 inches from Owen-Oak Ridge Road. The pool will be set back 127 feet from Hemlock Hill Road and 99 feet from Owen-Oak Ridge Road for property in the 2-acre zone at 16 Hemlock Hill Road. Who's here to present, please?
Good evening. My name is Bruce Reinheimer. I'm a licensed landscape architect with BHR Landscape Architects in Fairfield. I'm here on behalf of Andrew and Ashley Burr, the homeowners. They're located at 16 Hemlock Hill Road, as we mentioned. Maybe, Lynn, if you could share slide number 2 of the PowerPoint.
Okay, give me 1 second to pull it up and I will do that.
Sure, okay.
You can keep talking.
Okay. So as we mentioned, this is a corner lot. And the reason that we're here tonight is we're proposing a pool and a pool house within what's considered a front yard setback. This property, as you'll see from the existing condition survey, if you could pull that up, Lynn.
Okay. 1 second, your PowerPoint's coming up.
Okay. Okay, could we go to the next? Yeah, okay. This is the existing conditions, and as you can see, it's a corner lot. The house is primarily on the western half of the property, and the existing septic is at the rear of the house, and the existing approved septic reserve area is in the northwest corner of the property. So the area that we're proposing, the pool and the pool house, is on the east side of the house. Maybe we could go to the next slide, number 3 there. So on the GIS map, you can see the property, and just in context, you can see the number of little blue dots there that indicate pools in the neighborhood. So it is consistent with the general neighborhood. We have heard back from the 3 adjoining neighbors, the Dalbas, the Spitspadens, and the Connors, who have all said that they were in favor of the project. If we go to number 5, yeah. Okay, so here you can see the proposed pool and pool house on the east side of the property. And just to give you some context, if we go to slide 9, Lynn. Okay, so on this slide, you can see the existing house. The property is heavily buffered with an existing spruce tree buffer around all sides of the property, essentially. So you won't even be able to look into this pool area when it's completed. The pool is going to be centered on that walkout basement in the lower right-hand corner picture. That's our intent. And just to give you an idea of the context, if you go to the next slide, Lynn, number 10, here you can see the proposed pool and pool house in the context with the existing house. So the materials for the pool house will be identical to the house. It has clapboard siding, it has cedar shake roof, and it'll just be at a smaller scale. And what we've done is we've set the elevation of the pool at the same elevation as the walkout basement, and we've cut into the slope for the pool house so that there's very little grading involved, very little disturbance of the site whatsoever. So we're showing the pool house is a 1-story structure. It's basically, if we go to the slide 11, it's just basically a great room with a bathroom changing room and a small kitchenette without cooking facilities in it. And then if we go to slide 13, you can see the general elevations. And those were also shown in the SketchUp form as well. Finally, if we just go to that last slide, Lynn, it's 15. So the property was engineered by Edwards Surveyors and Engineers, and they're proposing a stormwater detention basin just to the southeast of the pool area that will collect all the storm water from the pool and the pool house to bring it back to pre-construction levels. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. We can go through the remaining drawings if you haven't seen those. There's a grading plan, a planting plan, average grade for the building height, and some other general little plans of the pool house.
Questions for the applicant, commissioners? Everybody good? Okay, let's open this up to the public. Would anybody from the public like to comment on this application? Lynn, let me know if you.
Okay, hold on one second. Sarah Irwin, is this the application you're here for?
No, it's not, but thank you.
Okay. Nancy, is this the application you're here for? Michael Mitchell or Linda Lasky, are you here for this application?
No, not this one. Thank you.
Okay. Michael Mitchell, are you here for this application? And lastly, Angela, are you here for this application?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Chairman, it looks like there's no one here to speak.
Correct. Okay, this application's closed. Item number 6, 635 Frogtown Road. Upon application, Stephen Finn, Wovsy Rosenquist Kuriansky, authorized agent for New Canaan Country School owners for a special permit approval of sections 33B7 and A2B to allow placement of a temporary tent and 2 temporary portable bathrooms in order to maintain physical distancing and for public health and safety during the COVID-19 pandemic. The location of the temporary tent and bathrooms are shown on the plan submitted herewith for property located in the 2-acre zone at 635 Frogtown Road. As I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, this will be focused on this specific request having to do with the emergency COVID conditions. Mr. Finn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening to you and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Steve Finn. I'm here representing the New Canaan Country School. With me tonight is Aaron Cooper, head of school. My remarks on this application will be brief, but I'll be happy to answer any questions, and Aaron's here to answer any questions any of the commissioners may have at the conclusion of the presentation. As we all know, the governor of the state of Connecticut issued a declaration of public health emergency as a result of the coronavirus pandemic on March 10th, 2020. In order to protect the citizens and residents of the state of Connecticut, the governor has issued more than 70 executive orders intended to reduce the spread of the coronavirus, but to also, more recently, to allow schools, businesses, offices, recreational facilities to reopen with appropriate health safeguards in place. In furtherance of that goal, the Connecticut Department of Education has issued guidelines, and it's stated as an overarching goal that maximizing in-person instructional time is critical. Among the Department of Education's recommendations for reopening of schools are the use of cohorting, and Aaron can explain that in more detail if anyone needs an explanation, social distancing, and adapting space to maximize social distancing. With those goals in mind, the New Canaan Country School erected a temporary tent to be used as a supplemental space for lunch and a classroom, and also 2 portable bathrooms to allow for cohorting and social distancing. We submitted a temporary plan as part of our application showing the location of the temporary tent and the 2 portable bathrooms. If any of the commissioners think it would be helpful to bring that up, if they haven't been able to see it or going out to the site, I'm happy to have Lynn post that, but it may not be necessary. So I'm inquiring whether anyone wants to see that at this point in time, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody need to see it? Mr. Cruz, you'd like? No. Okay, we're good to go. Please continue, Mr. Finn.
Okay. Well, just for the record, the tent is located behind and to the north of the main campus building, which houses the current dining hall. It's completely obscured from Frogtown Road and very hard to see from Ponus Ridge Road. It is about 500 feet from Ponus. When we submitted the application, I think we said it was 600 feet, but we didn't have the temporary plan at that time. It's a little bit more than 500 feet from Ponus. I've also, as part of the presentation for tonight, sent 8 photographs to Lynn. Again, happy to take the commission through some of those if they feel it's necessary, but I'm not sure it really is, especially if the commissioners have been out to the site.
Keep going, Mr. Finn.
Thank you. In connection with the tent, there will be no outdoor speakers. There are 2 interior lights which shine downward in the tent. As represented in our application, those lights will be turned off by no later than 4 p.m. and will be physically unplugged from the electrical outlet by 4:30 p.m. The 2 temporary bathrooms are located, one's located to the east of the Stevens building, and the other is to the north of the middle school building. Again, if anyone needs to see those locations, please let me know. We can bring up the temporary plan and we can show those to you. Where our application is filed under zoning regulation 3.3B.7, permitted accessory uses. That allows temporary uses to remain in place for a period exceeding 10 days in any calendar year, if approved by the commission. Frankly, I'm not sure. I think there's a good argument we don't need to do this by special permit, but that's the way we decided to go at this point. And so there is pending before you a special permit application for these 3 temporary structures. The application statement also includes, at the suggestion of Lynn, that the commission also allow the town planner to permit additional temporary structures in the future in order to achieve the Connecticut Department of Education goals to maximize in-person instruction and teaching in a safe environment. I said, Mr. Chairman, I'd be brief. I think I covered it. The dimensions of these structures are all set forth in our application. The special permit criteria are all enumerated in the special permit statement, and reasons why the application complies with those special permit criteria are set forth there. And I'm not sure if Aaron feels a need to address the commission at this point, but if he doesn't, I'm ready to answer any questions that the commission may have. Thank you.
Mr. Cooper, you okay? I think we've.
Yes, I'm okay. Steve said it all. It's really just entirely about the health and well-being of our teachers and students.
Okay. And just to be clear, the proposed structure is only as long as we're under emergency COVID conditions, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Commissioners, questions for the applicant? Mr. Cruz.
Muted.
I just unmuted him.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. I assume the fire marshal has viewed the tent and is okay with safety issues regarding it?
Yes.
Okay. I wonder if there are any safety issues regarding the temporary toilets. They seem to be non-handicap. You have to go upstairs. I'm wondering if there's an emergency button in there if someone becomes ill, perhaps locked in and trying to call for help. Are there facilities for that?
I don't know. Go ahead,
Mr.
Steve.
Chris, I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that I think Jen Allison of the Health Department has okayed those, and I assume she would not have done that if there are any problems with it related to municipal regulation. Obviously, if there is a problem, we'll have to deal with that with the appropriate official.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
I have a question. Is the tent used for outdoor learning?
It is. Yes.
And the portable bathrooms, are those for students or staff, or is it for construction of the gym?
Those are for students, specifically due to the cohorting where we keep each grade level completely separate from one another. We had those two needs that we could not otherwise meet with our existing interior bathrooms.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Would anybody from the public like to address this application?
1 second, Mr. Chairman. Sarah Irwin or Angela, are you here for this application, or Nancy?
This is Sarah Irwin. I am here as a member of the Board of Trustees of Country School. I'm fully in support of this application.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Angela or Nancy, are you here for this application?
This is Angela, and I am not here for this application.
Okay. Linda Lasky and Michael Mitchell and Michael Rourke, are you here for this application?
This is Michael O'Rourke. No.
Okay.
Linda Lasky, no.
I think we need to start asking people what application they're here for.
Thank you.
Yes. Keep a record.
So
Okay,
it looks
Ms.
like
Lynn?
it looks like there's no one else here from the public for this application.
Okay, this application's closed. Item number
Yeah.
7, 8 Lockwood Avenue, upon application of Bruno Iacano, apologize if I got the name wrong, Signature Pools Inc., authorized agent for Colin and Susan Welch, owners, for a special permit and site plan approval of sections 34B4B, 34B4D, 34C6 to allow construction of a swimming pool, firewall, and pergola and bathhouse within 150 feet of a front property line for property in the B residence zone at 8 Lockwood Avenue. Who's here to present, please?
My name is Daniel Mazabras. I'm with Odd Job Landscaping out of Norwalk. I'm here representing Colin and Susan Welch of 8 Lockwood Avenue, and we are requesting an approval on this site as the property is a corner lot, which requires a 150-foot setback for the pool and all other accessory structures that we have on the property. The property only measures 136 feet from side to side. Lynn, if you could put up which one was that? If you could put up the landscape site plan SP1, that would really help, please.
Okay, I'm about to load it, so you can keep talking.
So we have the overall site plan here. Now this is an overlay. We also have, of course, the survey from RKW. This gives you guys an understanding of what we're trying to accomplish here. When we first started this project, we hired RKW to come in and do a survey for us, an updated survey. We didn't have a current one, so we had them do an updated survey for us, as well as the topography. And if you can see on the plan there, you know, we had all the setback lines here because it's a double frontage. You've got 25 feet here and then 25 feet across here. And these are 2 side yards. So you've got 8 feet here and 8 feet across the back. So once we got those and the topography was done, we needed the topography to figure out the heights of the walls in the back. So once we had the updated surveys, we hired Bruce Eckerson from Eckerson Design Associates to provide us with a detailed master plan, hardscape and landscape plan based on the provided setbacks from RKW. After receiving the plans from Eckerson Design Associates, I spoke with Ben Winter to confirm the heights that were requirements for the walls in the back. They had to be under 4 feet high. They had to be outside of 8 feet. So we had met all of those requirements. So we didn't need a permit for it because they were not permittable items. So we went ahead and started to build the wall because we knew we had a lot of work ahead of us before we could get the pool permit. So then we asked RKW to return to stake all the property lines to make sure that we were in compliance, that the wall was 8 feet off. So he did all that actually before we did the wall, just to make sure that our measurements were accurate. So RKW staked property lines, we built the walls, we did all those big tree, evergreen trees, 14 to 16 foot green giant arborvitaes to screen from the neighbors in the back to provide some privacy, to quiet the place down. once we were kind of in progress, I had called our pool contractor to come and start digging the pool. I didn't realize we didn't have the permit yet. He came and dug the hole in the pool, and that's when one of the town officials showed up, asked us to stop because we didn't have a permit for the pool yet. And that's when this whole 150-foot setback rule came up. So after speaking with RKW, Eckerson Design Associates, the pool contractor, myself, Rob Frangione, who's the engineer, none of us had ever been aware of this 150-foot setback rule. So it was kind of a shock to us. So we're here requesting that, you show some leniency here on this 150-foot setback rule. So you can see that the pool is inside the setbacks, as well as we've got like a firewall there, and then a pergola right in this area as well, right here. In the back, we have a outdoor shower and just a bathroom, very small structure, both of which are, they meet height restrictions, they meet setbacks, and we have enough coverage to put those on the lot. So once the town official had come and saw us on the pool, we stopped work immediately. Nothing has been done since then. The pool stands just a hole in the ground. We also had Rob Frangione redesign all the drainage for the property. So we have all new drainage plans, which I believe Maria has. It's all been approved. So that's really it. Everything that's here is basically non-conforming unless we get a variance for this 150-foot accessory structure setback.
Mr. Mazabras, I don't understand the process and the timing. So you're telling me you did not need a zoning permit to begin construction?
So obviously we did for the pool, yes. We needed a zoning permit for the pool. We also needed it for the structures, but we added the structures after the fact. So basically we had gone in to do a pool, which was designed here. And then the clients decided that we wanted to have the bathroom on this side. We actually had it designed on the other side of the house, where it was tucked up against the house. So we had moved it over to the other side. So Dan Rabin from Rabin Architects had actually designed these bathrooms for us.
Actually, sir, can I interrupt you? I apologize for that. You just brought up something that's important. I'm not, Mr. Rabin, have you recused yourself? Is he still on, or?
I'm still on. I'm on mute. I'm recused for this.
Okay,
Yes.
so you're recused.
Yes.
Okay, please proceed, sir.
So yeah, can we put that slide
I'm
back?
sorry, I have to interrupt again since I wasn't told Mr. Redmond had recused himself. I'm checking my list here. Mr. Casavant, you're seated for the duration of this hearing. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, please proceed.
Okay, so where did you want me to pick up, Mr. Goodwin, on the timeline?
Yeah, I just, I don't understand, from the pictures that I've seen, this is far down the road.
Well, yeah, I mean.
So the other thing I'd like you to address is, I guess you did not realize you were within a setback, but it's a tight community. I'm a little surprised nobody checked with the town.
Well, like I said, for this retaining wall, I had spoken with Ben Winter in the zoning department about the wall, about the property lines, about the height. So this retaining wall, according to the conversation I had with Ben, did not require a permit because it's under 4 feet. It's inside the 8-foot property lines. It meets all the setback requirements. So there was a lot of work that had to be done on that wall while we filed for permits for the pool. So that's why we started that part of the project.
Okay.
And then below that, we had planned on doing some tall evergreens, which again, if we're doing screen planting, that doesn't require a permit to do some plantings. So other than that, and the pool being dug, there really hasn't been anything else done there.
Okay. Commissioners, questions for the applicant?
It seems, looking at the pictures, that a little bit more has been done than the pool being dug. There seems to be a lot of cement reinforcement and whatever. This is really almost, seems impossible, actually, that both of these things could happen.
This is Rob Frangione. Again, I don't think impossible, really. Again, from a sequencing standpoint, it makes sense, and it was, I think, good of Dan to put the screening in first, to screen along the property line, then put in the stone, the walls. The walls are 4 feet. They're as of right. They comply with height and setback. From there, that basically gives you a barrier, and you work your way into the site. So I think from a construction sequencing perspective, that was the right way to go. Everything else is just moving dirt. Again, the 150-foot setback from the front yard can't be met on this property. The property depth is 150 off of Bank Street and 21 feet and change off of Lockwood. So you've got two intersecting 150-foot offsets. The only place for the pool to go is where it is.
Is it possible that some yards just don't have room for a pool?
Well, again, they meet coverage. The drainage works. We've gotten approval for the stormwater design. It's properly screened. It's properly fenced. All the utilities work. Is it tight? Absolutely. Can it work? Yes. And should this be permitted and allowed, it will be able to work.
I have a question. This is Krista Nielsen. Maybe I'm not looking at the right plan. I'm looking at the landscape plan, but has there been any consideration to adding more landscaping along Bank Street? Because it seems like as you're driving up Bank Street towards South Avenue, you'll have a view straight into this pool.
Yeah, this is Dan Mazabris again speaking. We're going to landscape that, but again, we just kind of stopped that part of the landscaping and kind of pulled off the job site just because we didn't want to have any further problems. So there's going to be more involved with it for sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan. Isn't there also a 6-foot fence, solid fence?
There's a 6-foot solid fence that was existing. It was rotted, so we replaced it with the same exact fence and the same exact location, same height, everything. But it was rotted and it was kind of, it was in tough shape.
So given the elevations of the pool relative to the street, you're not going to be able to see the pool from the street because it is screened by a fence and whatever landscaping will.
Yes, there's going to be additional landscaping as well.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, let's open up to the public. Would anybody from the public like to address this application?
Michael Mitchell, are you here for this application? Ooh. Can you speak now?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, there we go. So I'm a landscape architect for Eckerson Design Associates. So if there's any landscape related questions, besides fencing or anything else, I'm here to answer those.
Mr. Mitchell, I think it would be helpful going back to Ms. Nielsen's question. So what screening, if any, I heard about the fence, but what screening, if anything, are we talking about versus Bank Street?
Versus Bank Street, the planting plan outside the fence line hasn't been developed yet. Like Dan said, really, up until this point, our task has been to look at the pool, the wall, and the screening for the neighbors.
Okay.
Sarah Irwin, Angela, are you here for this application?
I'm not, thank you.
Nancy, are you here for this application? That looks, Mr. Chairman, that looks like it may be it. Mr. Rourke, are you here for this application?
No, I am not. Thank you.
What application are you here for?
Houston Lane. We've been asking everybody about Houston Lane all night. Okay, commissioners, any other questions for the applicant? Okay, this hearing's closed.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now hear items 8 and 9 together. Item number 8, discussion consideration of the request of Jacqueline Kaufman, Carmody Torrance Sandak, authorized agent for Thomas Sanseverino, owner 8, 10, 12, and 14 Houston Lane. And Lynn Corson, owner 16 Houston Lane, that's been removed. Petition for change in zoning boundary pursuant to section 82D for properties currently in the B residence zone to the retail B zone for 8 Houston Lane, 10 Houston Lane, 12 Houston Lane, 14 Houston Lane, 16 Houston Lane, as well as Houston Lane. And item number 8, 8 and 10 Houston Lane, upon application, Jacqueline Kaufman, Carmody Torrance, authorized agent for Thomas A. Sanseverino, owner for special permit, site plan approval, sections 43, 43D1, 43D1D, 48C, 6H1, 82B, and 82A, to permit a mixed-use development containing 12 residential dwelling units and approximately 300 square feet of commercial space with associated parking, landscaping, utility, and site improvements at 8 Houston Lane and 10 Houston Lane, as well as Houston Lane in the proposed retail B zone. Who's here to present, please?
Hi, good evening. My name is Jackie Kaufman, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. Also, I see that our number of participants has diminished, and many of the folks who are still here, we believe, are here for this hearing, including Lenny DeAndrea, our civil engineer. I believe Ryan Salvatore, our architect, who is or will be calling in shortly to answer any questions for you. We have taken the last month to work through some outstanding items that we reported to you back in August. We began this hearing at the end of July, your last meeting, where we presented our full application. We received comments from the engineering department in August that we have since addressed, and received a few days ago a letter confirming that we have met all of the standards, the drainage manual, and the questions of the engineering department. And so we believe that there is nothing outstanding with the municipality. Then we have also worked with our neighbors who we reported back to you that we were talking to last month as well about future uses. And this is regarding the zoning change on numbers 8, 10, 12, and 14, and some screening requests made for associated with 8 and 10, and then any other future hearing. So we have worked with them. We have prepared a private agreement, a private restrictive covenant with our neighbors that we think will address the private issues between them. That has not yet been finalized, but I'd say is hopefully almost all the way there. And we hope to have progress on that within the next few days. So the timing was unfortunate for us tonight. If there's an opportunity to meet with this commission in advance, through a special meeting in advance of your October meeting, then we would greatly appreciate that. But we will ask for it to be continued so that we can finalize those details with our neighbors and report back to you that we have full agreement on that. But with that, I'm happy to answer any additional questions of the commission tonight.
Questions for the applicant, commissioners? So, Ms. Kaufman, so you have the private agreement with the neighbors. Which neighbors are we talking about?
This is with Ms. Corson, Mr. Lampert, and the condos to the north.
Okay.
Now, and that agreement will run in favor of all three to the extent that all three accept that.
Got it. So you are requesting this be continued to, for more time to reach that agreement, correct?
Yes, we are. And we're hopeful that we have that sooner rather than later. So if there is an opportunity to meet with the commission ahead of the October meeting, we'd welcome that. If not, then we will be back with you in October.
Okay, and does that agreement include the easement, or is the easement a separate agreement?
The easement will be a separate agreement, although it is part of the full negotiation. Certainly that is a really lovely amenity that we would like to include because it presents some connectivity opportunity between the project, between the building and the sidewalk, and it would allow residents to bypass walking up and down the driveway or Houston Lane as it exists today. But if that easement is not granted, it would remove that amendment from the site plan that is before you.
Okay. Okay. Commissioners, any other commissioner questions? Okay. Nobody? Everybody good?
Nope.
Okay, let's open it up to the public, please.
Okay, 1 second, I'm unmuting all the people. So, Lynn Corson, Sarah Irwin, Nancy.
Okay, see,
Like Ms. Lasky's raising her hand.
yeah,
Where, I'm looking for her.
lower right-hand corner, if we have the same screen.
Should I say something?
No.
Just double check. Yeah, use this.
Okay, you're unmuted.
There you are. Okay, sorry.
Hi, ready for me? I'm Linda Lasky. I'm an attorney with the law offices of Green and Gross in Bridgeport, and I represent the Owen-Oak Association, one of the neighbors to the north. And I just will join in the request for a continuation at this point. We just want to make sure that we preserve our opportunity to be heard should the negotiations fail.
I will continue this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else, Lynn?
Ms. Irwin, Ms. Corson, did you want to speak at this time?
Sure.
Nan?
This is, well, you ready for me, Lynn?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Lynn Corson, and I guess I will reiterate to the commission that in reviewing the approvals that I would ask that it be limited to phase 1, as this is the project that's really been defined and put before you, and that the commission refrain from making any changes as it pertains to 12 and 14 Houston Lane, or what is known as phase 2, as this project hasn't been defined and certainly has some issues as far as I'm concerned in regards to scope and magnitude. So that's where I stand. And certainly as the one that's most directly impacted by these changes, I do appreciate the commission taking my input under advisement in reaching their decision. And I thank you for the opportunity to voice my opinion.
Thank you, Ms. Corson.
Welcome.
Anybody else, Lynn?
Ms. Irwin and Nancy, did you want to speak for this application?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay. Anybody
It
else?
looks like everybody. So it looks like everybody for that
Okay, great.
application.
Okay, this application is continued to the October 27, 2020 meeting.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just to respond to Ms. Corson's last comment regarding phase 2, I want to remind the commission that while we are requesting a site plan and special permit application simply for the redevelopment of numbers 8 and 10, we are not requesting any development at this time of 12 and 14. And I realize that it's come up in the context before, and you sort of asked if we have any interest in removing those other properties from this request. So we have, if I may share my screen, and I will provide this copy to go to where we are here. Are you able to see that?
We can see it.
I have a map up.
Can you blow it up a little bit more, please?
Let's see. Oh, is that good?
Yep, perfect.
Okay. You can see here, this represents the property originally, all 5 properties. You can see all 5 here. 8 and 10, which are the subject also of the site plan and special permit application for you, are outlined in the black and in the dash line. And this would also represent the physical boundary of a map change that would remove other properties, primarily, in our last meeting, we removed Ms. Corson's property, which is just to the north of the parking area. And the current map that is before you continues to include the 2 properties to the north of the black line, which are properties 12 and 14. And you had asked, what would a map change look like, and would it work with just 8 and 10, with the property and the application that is before you for the site and special permit application. And this is the visual of that
I put myself on camera.
request. And you can see here that it shares an entire boundary with the retail B zone, and we think continues to work with the request that we've made. And if this is an opportunity now to speak to that, we're happy to field questions about that. I think all of the reasons that we stated in our application for the conformity with the town plan of development would continue to apply to these 2 properties as to the properties to the north of them. But certainly you can see that shared boundary continues to make sense if the northerly 2 properties were removed from the request.
Good. Commissioners, any questions on that for Ms. Kaufman? Okay, I think we're good. You all set, Ms. Kaufman?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, this hearing's continued to, as I said, October 27, 2020 meeting.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, commissioners, let's make some decisions. Just give me a second, please. Okay, item number 3, 115 Seminary. Do I have a motion for approval or denial? Are we getting shy again like we were at the beginning of the night?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
That was Mr. Scornia. Okay, Mr. Turner, reasons for approval?
Yes, I think it's consistent with the POCD to create new housing. It's the proposed residences are in keeping with the existing neighborhood. I do have some concerns about the retaining wall, and would like to offer a condition that the owner develops renderings that depict the conditions so that we can understand the grade changes, how the retaining wall interacts with that, and the safety features as far as putting a fence on top of a retaining wall, thinking that that's going to retain a car from going over the edge. So I think there's more work that has to be done, and I would recommend that we have a condition that requires better documentation, drawings, perspectives that depict the actual condition.
Okay. Kent, do you think, I sort of, I sort of like the idea of the reduction of the walls. I would like not to see that just, necessarily dismissed, but what are your thoughts on that?
I think reducing the height of the wall is actually a great idea. It's out of scale. It really creates kind of a fortress on that corner. And I think that the owner should keep that design idea. And I think if we can see it 3-dimensionally, I think everybody will be pleased. Okay, and Kent, I assume then the concept is
Well, what is the concept? Typically, as you know, we leave it to the planner to meet with the applicant and make the decisions as to, what should or should not be done with the wall in this case. Is that satisfactory to you?
I think it is. I would suggest that maybe, I'm not going to say a subcommittee, but maybe one or two commissioners also meet with Lynn and, just have a kind of an agreement that it's going to be okay.
Okay. Okay. And is that it for the conditions, Ken?
Yes.
Okay. Additional comments on the application? I think I was interested to hear Gene's comments. I think it's Mr. Tomas has generally done a pretty good job in other developments around town, of which some have come in front of us. But Gene, I was not aware of the concerns of the elevated car type issue.
Well, it appears that it sits far enough back that it may not be a problem where the cars would normally be parked, but it is really very unattractive to see a bunch of cars parked way above your sight line.
One of the things that I wondered about was I wish, I'm forgetting her name, I think it's Throgmorton, had been here to present on the landscaping. It sounds like the good news is, we have the right type of species, but I mean, is everybody comfortable with the landscaping in general? And I don't know if landscaping can address your concern, Gene. I mean, any thoughts, everybody?
I think it could. I don't really, John, I don't really know how tall are those plants, some of them. I have no idea.
I mean, maybe what I'm thinking here, the commissioners tell me if you agree, Kent, you've moved the motion, so you're the one who calls the ball, so to speak, is also have a landscaping review with the planner to address some of the concerns, among, with Gene's concerns and some other concerns as well. Are you agreeable to that?
Yes, I think that's actually a very good idea.
Okay. Okay, anybody else?
I'd just like to say something. This is Krista. When I first saw this application for the two houses on this front lot, this is just more for the commission's consideration. I got really stressed because I feel like this in particular along Seminary Street is an area where a lot of zones come together. I think we've already talked about that in the past, and that, that the planning subcommittee in an ideal world would have considered if that's something we want to continue. I mean, obviously the B zone allows it under special permit, but I just sometimes feel like we're not moving fast enough for the projects coming down the pipe.
Yeah. Yeah, I share your concern. Anybody else?
I think this is Dan Radman. I think it's also worth noting that the previous site condition here, they had the driveway coming in off of Seminary Street, and there was a two-car parking area right up against the tallest portion of the retaining wall as it exists now. So there were previously cars were able to park up against an elevated retaining wall, but it was significantly higher than what they're proposing. So to Gene's point, the cars might be more visible, but it's not out of character. It's probably better than what was there prior, and could be addressed with a decent buffer zone of planting between the retaining wall and the edge of asphalt where the paving is.
Okay. Okay, anybody else? Okay, Lynn, are you comfortable that you can codify the conditions we discussed?
Yes.
Okay, great. Then I'll call the question. John Goodwin, I vote yes. Gene Grzelewski?
Yes.
John Cruz? You're on mute, John.
Yes.
Excellent. Dan Radman,
Yes.
Claire Tiscornia,
Yes.
Kent Turner,
Yes.
Dick Ward,
Yes.
Bill Williams,
Yes.
Krista Nielsen.
Yes.
Great. Okay. So that's approved unanimously. Item number 516 Hemlock Hill. Do I have a motion for approval or denial?
I would move approval.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Jean, reasons for approval?
Well, I think the picture that they showed showed the other pools and everything in the neighborhood. It's very much in keeping with the neighborhood. You won't be able to see it really from Owen at all, and it's really very well placed in the back of the house.
Okay. Anybody else? John?
I drove by this residence again today twice, and if you're on Owen, you really can't see through the trees that are bordering Owen very well. So it seems to be very, very well screened. It's a relatively large lot. I don't really see this impinging on the neighbors at all. I'm pleased that they're using fieldstone and slate in the design, which I think is keeping with the sort of the vibe of New England. So I would recommend approval.
Okay, great. Anybody else? Okay, I'll call the question. John Goodwin, I vote yes. Jean Brzezicki?
Yes.
John Chris?
Yes.
Dan Radman?
Yes.
Claire Tiscornia?
Yes.
Ken Turner?
Yes.
Dick Ward?
Yes.
Bill Williams?
Yes.
Krista Nielsen?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, 635 Frogtown Road. Do I have a motion for approval or denial?
Move we approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, John, reasons for approval?
I think the tent and the two, I'm going to call them porta potties, though they're more than that, portable washrooms, are well distant and screened from roadways. I understand the need, given current health issues, of having a different facility arrangement in order to safeguard health and safety for the students, as well as to continue to be able to provide in-person teaching, which I think is a community desire. So I would support those. Also, as far as additional similar types of facilities which are being advocated by the applicant, which would be capable of being approved by the zoning officer, I would support that. Also, if she turns it down, they can always kick it up to the commission and we can make a decision on it, but I would see those as relatively straightforward. But I would suggest to her that issues of public safety, which includes anything with the fire marshal perhaps that may be necessary for any kind of even temporary structure, as well as site impairment from public areas and roadways, would be something she should consider carefully when coming to a decision.
Okay. Anybody else?
Kent Turner. I have a concern about the way that is worded as far as the town planner approving future components of the project. It just seems very open-ended, and you know, it's not only due to the pandemic. It could also be should the school decide they need something beyond what they have today. It's just seems it's to me it's a little more like wordsmithing. It's a little open-ended, and I'm wondering if it should be changed to restrict it to some degree. It's page 7, the last sentence goes into first paragraph on page 8. The planner's memo.
But the approval is only specific to conditions having to do with the COVID-related emergency order. Lynn, is that correct? Or I'm not looking at the wording right now. So, Kent, you're concerned that it is not specifically tied to the emergency order? And
yes, it reads, if additional temporary structures are required to keep pace with any changes in the state's sector guidelines, or the schools needs, that they be permitted with the permission of the town planner. To me, it doesn't restrict it to strictly, the COVID. What if they have other needs that have nothing to do with COVID?
I'll make a suggestion then. This approval would expire 30 days after the removal of governors or other competent legal authorities' orders regarding COVID, and any structures that are approved by the town planner as part of this approval would expire 30 days after also. So it's essentially 30 days after the crisis is over, all of these structures gotta go.
Mm-hmm. That's reasonable.
Okay. Dick?
Yeah, Dick Ward. And perhaps it's just as simple as asking Lynn that if there is a request to do something that's basically unrelated to COVID, that she just bring it to the commission.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody knows this. Generally speaking, I mean, first, Lynn's instinct is to be conservative vis-a-vis what to bring to the commission or not. The second thing you should know, I think you know this, is that, anything like this, Lynn and I always discuss it as well. So, there are, if you have any faith in me, maybe you don't, but there are some there are guardrails in place. But
I'm worried now.
So, but I don't have any issue with that. I mean, how's everybody feel? Do you think that condition makes sense? That additional condition?
Condition's fine.
Yep.
Okay. Lynn, you able to codify that?
Yes, I will do that. And apologies if it wasn't clear, but the intent was it was COVID related temporary structures.
Yeah.
That was my understanding too.
Yeah.
Just make it clear, and that anything under, as far as the 3 structures now, any structures that are approved by the town planner, the approval disappears 30 days after the COVID emergency is gone.
Yeah.
And those structures got to go then.
Okay.
Yes.
And the other thing that I'll point out, I'm sure everybody looked at the site plan. What they're specifically doing up front is well within the property. I don't think it'll be visible from outside the property. So, okay, I'm going to call the question. John Goodwin, yes. Jean Grzelewski?
Yes.
John Chris?
Yes.
Dan Radman?
Yes.
Claire Tiscornia?
Yes.
Ken Turner?
Yes.
Dick Ward?
Yes.
Bill Williams?
Yes.
Krista Nielsen?
Yes.
Okay, item number 7, 8 Lockwood Avenue. Do I have a motion for approval or denial?
It's just a little disconcerting because I feel like this application is kind of asking for forgiveness instead of permission. It's already happened, it seems like. But if everything is already there within, the guidelines and the zoning regulations that they should be, I don't have a problem with approving it.
Yeah. Dick Ward, I'll second it. And
Actually, Dick, let me, just to be crystal clear. So Claire, Dick, I'm sorry. You've moved approval.
Sure, yes.
Okay. Dick?
Thanks, Dick.
I'll second it. And basically because I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they perhaps did not realize the timing was not the best, and that they have perhaps gotten out ahead of themselves a bit more than we would like. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that it was in good faith and not simply an attempt to game us or the zoning regulations.
Question for Claire. Claire, what about the screening on 106, on the 106 street side?
The 6-foot fence?
Yeah, I mean, do you think there needs to be any additional screening, or are you comfortable with?
I'm fine with the fence,
Okay,
but if commissioners want more screening, I have no problem adding that condition.
We have no landscape plan.
Yeah.
right. I ask, you guys know how I operate. Sometimes I have a reason for a condition, and sometimes I'm just throwing it out there for the commission to consider. In this case, it's the latter, and I'm not pushing for it. I'm just throwing it out there.
I'd like a landscape plan.
Yeah, why don't we put one of the conditions, approval based on approval of landscape plan by the planner?
I
Okay.
like that.
Dick, are you comfortable with that?
Yes, yeah.
One.
Okay, just additional discussion of the motion?
I would note,
Excuse me, we're okay with the fact that the fence doesn't meet our regulations.
Lynn, what's the status on that? Is that a pre-existing condition or not?
I'll double check what they had out there when we went to visit it the first time. And I'll check with the other staff members. I was one of four staff members from town hall that went. So I'll check everyone's pictures and see what was there previously. If there was an existing fence approximately 6 feet tall, it would have been an existing condition. And we could,
Or alternatively, can that be addressed as part of the request for a landscaping plan?
it could be addressed. They actually submitted a landscaping plan. That's what was displayed on the screen during the public hearing process. So we can ask them to embellish it if that's the commission's wish. I can bring it up if you'd like to see it again.
Yeah, bring it up, please.
Okay, give me 1 second. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Okay, this is the landscaping plan. They're proposing bushes, trees around here. They're proposing around in this area. And then they have a fence that roughly runs here.
are there any names on the trees? What kind of trees? How tall they're going to be?
It said arborvitae.
Okay, so obviously they don't have a deer problem. Spruce dogwood is not native.
Would you like, when they come back with a revised landscaping plan, would you like that they have a native plants, as you noted earlier in the meeting, for another item?
Native plants and should be relatively large so that the screening starts early as opposed to 5 years from now.
Claire, are you comfortable with that?
Yes.
As moving the motion? Okay. Okay, John, I interrupted you. I apologize. Did you?
That's it. I think it's important to know not only the plants, but I think we want to insist on natives and also relatively larger trees so that we get, screening sooner as opposed to a decade from now. So this is an important street and corner, and there'll be visibility. That's my comment.
Are you guys good with the landscaping plan? I can take it off.
Yeah, you can take it off, Lynn.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Any other thoughts on the application before I call the question? Okay. Jean Grzelecki,
No.
John Chris,
No.
Dan, sorry, not Dan. Dan's recused himself. Claire Tiscornia,
Yes.
Kent Turner,
Yes.
Dick Ward,
Yes.
Phil Williams,
Yes.
Arthur Cassavant, or
Yes.
Krista Nielsen. Did I say Krista? I'm sorry. Krista, did I?
No, you didn't. Yes.
Yes, okay. Arthur Cassavant.
Yes.
Okay, I will abstain. So the motion passes. I do want to make a comment about this application. I was more relatively involved with it. And there were accusations that the New Canaan Planning Department did not handle this in good faith. And the accusations were made, as I understand it, at multiple levels. And I've gone through this in detail with the planner, and the planner handled this as well as she could have. And frankly, I'm disappointed in some of the accusations that have been made. And frankly, the way this process unfolded, as some of you have already noted, should have never happened. Okay. 8 and 9 was continued. Planning subcommittee update. Lynn and Krista, do we have anything to have us updated on?
We're continuing to do research and stay abreast of what the Desegregate Connecticut group is doing and working towards a meeting in October.
Okay, great. Number 12, administrative actions or other matters that may properly come before the commission. St. Luke's Foundation, 377 North Wilton Road. Annual enrollment report submitted per condition 5 of 326-12, special permit approval, request to waive the traffic study. Lynn, you want to address that?
Yes, I would like to. St. Luke's, per the 2012 approval, is required to submit enrollment numbers by the 15th of every year. This year, they have an increased enrollment, and part of the condition is that they submit a traffic study by the November 15th of the year that they have an increase in enrollment. And there's also an option in there at the last line of the condition reads that the Planning and Zoning Commission reserves the option to waive any particular traffic study. And I'd like to make a staff request that the commission consider waiving this study. I don't think it will prove useful or of any value currently, because obviously based on the situation we're in with COVID, there are some Zoom learners in the, that have affected their numbers as well that are not affecting traffic. They've also have to do the cohorts, as you heard earlier tonight. And there's a lot more parents in the pickup line because people don't want their kids to take the bus. That's true across the board at all the schools. So I don't think that the study would really be informative at this time. And that's a staff request.
Okay. Everybody okay with that? Lynn, do you need a vote on this?
Ideally, that would be great.
Sure. Okay. Can someone move that motion, please?
So moved.
Okay. Do I have a second? John raises his hand. So I got Jean moving, John seconding, John Goodwin. I vote yes. Jean Grzlecki?
Yes.
John Kriz?
Yes.
Dan Redmond?
Yes.
Claire Tiscornia?
Yes.
Kent Turner?
Yes.
Dick Ward?
Yes.
Bill Williams?
Yes.
Krista Nielsen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, item B, this sort of goes back in a way to the country school. Discussion of COVID-related mitigation measures and sector guidelines and administrative sign-offs. Lynn.
So yes, this does go back to what was discussed during New Canaan Country School's presentation. It's going to come up across the board throughout the year. The state sector guidelines, the sectors refer to stuff like retail industry, to schools, to outdoor museums, and each sector has its own set of guidelines, and they're constantly being updated by the state. And then everyone who wants to open or do business under the COVID rules has to follow a certain set of guidelines for their sector. And often those guidelines require that they do temporary measures to ensure social distancing and the safety of the public. So I suspect that we're probably going to see more tents around town. We're probably going to see more outdoor portable pods or classrooms or bathrooms, or even just any other measures that might be required. So this was really to have a discussion with the commission to make sure that that I could have the permission of the commission to administratively sign off on things that are related to public health that are really temporary, and I could affix the condition that those structures be removed 30 days after the pandemic is declared over. Darien had a similar presentation to their commission, and that's how they chose to resolve the problem. So I was hoping to start that conversation and be able to take care of that administratively so that I don't need to bring back stuff like the tent at the country school or other types of uses to mitigate the new reality.
So when Lynn and I talked about this, and again, it goes back to the discussion we had a few minutes ago, is my thing, you know, clearly, look, it's COVID. Let's not bog down emergency measures. But my guidance to Lynn would be, look, if in doubt, you know, she and I would talk about it, and we would, you know, if we were still in doubt, then we would definitely bring it to the commission. But the whole idea here is, look, we're just trying to deal with this emergency environment, and things are popping up where, quite frankly, they have to happen. You know, my opinion, St. Luke Country School, they have to have the tent. You just do. So, you know, that's the general concept of this. So what do you all think?
It's Kent. I'm sorry. I'm comfortable with what you just described, John, that you and Lynn have a discussion. You know, there's some thought given to everything. I'm perfectly fine with that, and think that's a very good idea.
I'm okay with it too. It might be helpful though if periodically a list were updated on here are the things that have been approved, so that the commission as a whole, as well as the public, can be aware of what decisions have been made along these lines. So
Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe as part of the monthly meeting, in this section of the meeting, Lynn just says, look, by the way, A, B, and C got approved.
I think that's a good
Fine
idea.
with me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's no problem. I can bring those back.
Okay. Okay. Lynn, do we need a vote or not?
Ideally, that would be perfect. That would be great if we could vote on it.
Okay. So do I have a motion, hopefully for approval?
So moved.
Okay, I heard Jane, I saw John seconding. Okay, I'll call the question. I vote yes. John Goodwin votes yes. Jean Grzelski,
Yes.
John Chris,
Yes.
Dan Redmond,
Yes.
Claire Tiscornia.
I think she.
Claire, did we lose Claire?
She's muted.
No, she just mute. She's muted right now.
Yes.
Okay, Ken Turner,
Yes.
Dick Ward,
Yes.
Bill Williams,
Yes.
Krista Nielsen.
Yes.
Okay, passes. Okay, approval of the minutes, August 25th, 2020, regular meeting. Any concerns or changes to the minutes? Everybody good? Okay, can I have a motion?
John, excuse me, I'm sorry.
please.
I was not at the last meeting, but I did watch the hearing on TV.
Great.
And so just for the record.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Gene seconded. John Goodwin votes yes. Jean Grzelski,
Yes.
John Chris,
Yes.
Dan Radman,
Yes.
Claire Tiscornia,
Yes.
Ken Turner,
Yes.
Dick Ward,
Yes.
Bill Williams,
Yes.
Krista Nielsen.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Absolutely.
I will not take a roll call vote. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night.
Thanks, John.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good night.
Thanks.